Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday morning to you all. I hope you guys are waking up and having a wonderful start to your day. And I hope everyone's been having a great week out there so far. There's a few things to talk about in this morning's video. And the first thing we'll cover is the current conditions, the latest outlooks. We'll break that down for you. And then we'll break down the country section by section. Of course, we'll zoom into a couple individual states that do run the higher risk of severe weather for today. After we get done talking about today's weather, we will speak on a setup for tomorrow. But, we'll kind of break down the severe storm outlook, and then we'll break down the excessive rainfall outlook for the next few days. But like I said, we'll spend a little bit more time on tomorrow's setup for areas of the southeast because we have some energy surrounding the ridge, and this could bring widespread strong to severe thunderstorm activity across the southeastern states, which will be a nice break from the heat, but we'll have to deal with the severe weather chances. We will spend a little extra time on that heat. It's been terrible across the eastern U.S. It seems like, a lot of people are wondering, when is summer going to get here? And then all of a sudden, bang, it's here. So we'll speak on that, talk on a couple things, and then we'll get on with our day. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And of course, if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. And we will have a quick Bible devotion at the end of the video if you're interested in sticking around for that. So let's get rocking and rolling. So this is the latest conditions. Energy continues to round the outer edges of this ridge. And here we are. We got rain across areas of New Mexico. The panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas. We got rain surging through Kansas, up through northern areas of Missouri into Iowa. But if you notice, all of the eastern U.S., for the most part, the eastern half of the U.S. is pretty quiet. A little bit of energy surging sort of east to west across kind of the Gulf coastline and Texas and Louisiana. And if you notice, this is going this way. This is going that way, and if there was any energy right into here, it would probably be going like this. And you can see a little bit of shower and storm activity up here in southeast Canada. So that is the flow around this ridge of high pressure. This heat dome might be a term that you're hearing a lot that's being tossed around out there. The flow around this heat dome, this ridge of high pressure, that's how it's going. And if you're right in the middle of this high pressure, you're probably not getting a whole lot of the way of anything as far as storm activity. So current conditions, a little trough out west still, but it's starting to warm up even out there. So we'll move forward here. We look at watches, warnings, and advisories. The orange color on your screen, that is heat advisories. This purple color, that is excessive heat warnings. Now we even have extreme heat warnings, like for example in the eastern sections of North Carolina, southeast North Carolina, extreme heat warning. So this heat is serious, guys. I mean, even for southern standards, I mean, it is very hot and humid, and we get a heat wave like this at least once or even twice a summer. And it does seem like June has been the big month we've been getting it lately. Late June seems to be a favorable period for whatever reason. But here we are, and we're dealing with it all across the I-95 corridor. A lot of humid air to mix with these very hot surface temperatures all the way up into New England. Even excessive heat warnings up into like the down east areas of Maine, which is pretty wild. So very hot. We got flood watches up for New Mexico, areas of southwest Texas, and some red flag warnings across areas of Colorado and Utah. Now, continuing to move forward here, a quick look at the latest from the National Hurricane Center. Update on the tropics. This little area of interest, what we call Invest 90L, has the National Hurricane Center has dropped the chances of this developing into a tropical depression or a tropical storm. So we do not think this is going to take the first name out of the list of names for this hurricane season. So it is running out of time to do something, and the chances of it developing have actually dropped to a 40% chance within the next 7 days. But I really think by the time we get over the next several days, we won't be talking about this anymore. There's not really anything else out there to talk about. I thought about doing a little segment on the tropics, but There's a couple little areas I got my eye on, but nothing worth getting very, very detailed on. It seems like every time I do, it vanishes the next day. So we're just going to keep things like this for now. It's been a pretty slow start to hurricane season. A couple people have mentioned that in the comments, and I would agree. But don't compare what we're getting right now, lack of what we're getting right now, with what potentially could happen on down the road. If you look at the graph on the activity, and you can search that on Google, it's available. Things don't really start picking up until really late July, really August. So we still got a while, guys. So things are quiet out there, but that's not totally unusual at all. Maybe compared to the the last few years, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not unusual at all. So we continue to move forward here. Look at the Storm Prediction Center outlook. We do have a slight risk across the central and northern high plains, areas like Wyoming, the western Dakotas, well, really just western South Dakota, western Nebraska, into areas of Colorado, including portions of the Front Range. I think we'll have some big hailstorms across areas of like Colorado today, but there is a marginal risk that extends across the Central Plains all the way through the Midwest, through areas of Michigan, northern Indiana, Ohio, all the way into interior sections of New England. Of course, a pretty large area of the country at least runs a general risk of thunderstorms, but let's speak a little bit more detailed on this. There is a 2% risk of a tornado in this green area. It almost includes Denver, but just east of Denver, 2% risk of a tornado. Scottsbluff, Fort Morgan, up into Torrington, Cheyenne. You're including in this, up into Rapid City, Gillette, Wyoming, 2% risk of a tornado. The wind threat is at a 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour within 25 miles in any given location. And the hail threat is really the thing we need to watch out for today, of course, damaging winds. But in that yellow area, that is a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. But if you live in that black outline region, which almost includes the Denver metro, but I really think Denver will have an opportunity, even down to Colorado Springs, maybe Boulder, Fort Collins, we'll have a shot to see some hailstorms today. If you don't know much about Colorado's weather, obviously it produces some of the wildest weather in the lower 48, but it can produce some wild hailstorms. So right now there is a 10% risk in the black outline region, with the black dashes going in between, of hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. So this setup today could produce some very large hail. Taking a look at the excessive rainfall outlook, in the red area down here in New Mexico, we have a 40% chance of flash flooding occurring within 25 miles in any given location. In the yellow areas, around this red area in New Mexico, and this large area across the Midwest has a 15% risk of flash flooding occurring within 25 miles in any given location. Closer look at New Mexico here, Albuquerque, Santa Fe. You guys have that higher risk of flash flooding. And just a closer look at this area also, Des Moines, Omaha, almost all the way to Chicago, does include Milwaukee. So definitely a shot at flash flooding in these areas. Now, looking at the southeast, not going to spend a whole lot of time on this region. We will spend some time when we're speaking on temperatures, but as far as any rainfall today, there's nothing to speak on. High pressure, the center of high pressure has shifted a little bit further south, so we're going to get hotter temperatures, even compared to yesterday's very hot temperatures today across areas of the southeast. But flow does not support really much in the way of any kind of storm activity, so we do got some storms in the southern areas of Florida. We do have maybe the shot of some storm activity along the Gulf coastline, maybe a little activity in Arkansas, but Georgia, the Carolinas, up into Virginia, I don't think we're going to get much of anything. Unless you just are a very lucky person, you get one of those pulse thunderstorms that really fires right on top of your house, you're probably not going to get much of anything. So a quiet but very hot, blistering hot day across the southeast. So up here in the northeast, maybe a little bit more action. We'll start off this morning. We'll get into about midday, and then we'll get to this afternoon. You see a little bit of storm activity up here in the upper portions of New York State, Vermont, New Hampshire, western areas of Maine, a little bit of storm activity in southern Ontario, maybe northern Ohio, northwest PA, and definitely a little bit more flow in northern areas of Ohio. Some storm activity in Michigan. We'll speak on that here in a second. But all in all, though, once you get closer to that I-95 corridor, I don't expect much of anything except extreme heat. Most of the action as far as storms will be in the interior sections of these areas. So, but just a closer look at some states across the Northeast. And I know Ohio isn't considered the Northeast, but I always include it in the Northeast portion here. But starting off around 3 p.m., we get to 4, 5, 6, 7. And some pop-up thunderstorms are possible. Cincinnati, Columbus, maybe up to Cleveland. And then we start to make our way into 8, 9, 10. More widespread thunderstorm activity is likely up in northern areas of Ohio. But really, once you get into the central and southern areas of the state, it looks pretty quiet. Not a whole lot to speak on in those areas. You get into midnight, some storms still possible up here from Toledo, Bowling Green, Cleveland. So just be aware of that. Moving forward here and looking at New York, and this will include sections of Vermont, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 storm activity possible up in the Adirondacks, maybe the Tug Hill Plateau, Rochester to Syracuse. 8, 9, 10. The key thing is whatever storms do form, even though it doesn't look very widespread in New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, whatever storms do form, could hit severe limits pretty fast, just due to how hot it is, how unstable, just the heat and instability out there and the humidity out there really just fueling the thermodynamic atmosphere. So looking to the south central U.S., a lot more flow the further you get into the boundary or the outer edge of this ridge. So you start off this morning, we get into this afternoon, widespread thunderstorm and heavy rain activity starts to get going here in New Mexico, even southern areas of Colorado. And then we take into this afternoon, really deeper into the afternoon, evening hours, just a ton of moisture across New Mexico, the front range of Colorado. But you do see a lot of storm activity also here in southeast Texas, southern areas of Louisiana, a little bit more splotchy in nature in Arkansas. But you continue in just a steady surge of moisture through New Mexico. Rainy day. I mean, you'll take it. You guys can go through some awful dry spells in the state of New Mexico. So you continue to move forward here, get to tomorrow morning, still waking up to rain showers across New Mexico. So even along the coastal areas of Texas is possible. But just looking at how much rainfall could fall over the next 36 hours or so in New Mexico, Albuquerque maybe an inch, Santa Fe 1.5 to 2 inches. You start to get in some of these red to yellow areas, that's 2 to 4 inches of rain that is possible. So a lot of it in the state, and it looks like it's just zoomed in. It's really really focused in on New Mexico here. So definitely be aware of that. Now, we'll take a closer look at the radar in Colorado, and starting off around lunchtime, we start to get to about 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Denver, Castle Rock, Colorado Springs, Pueblo, you guys could get hit by some storms and some hailstorms, gusty strong winds also, but it doesn't take much. Lapse rates are always there. A lot of cooler air aloft in these areas to support hail with these storms, so be aware of this. You could get numerous hailstorms in this area today, and just be aware of that tornado threat too. It's definitely not a 0% threat or anything like that. It never is when there's a risk of a storm. You never know if a storm's going to do something crazy. But up here towards Sterling, you see that circle thing coming off this cell south of Sterling, Colorado. Indicates a stronger updraft could produce more intense, severe weather. But just be aware of all this activity kicking off probably around early mid-afternoon, lasting all the way through the evening hours across the entire eastern half of Colorado. And then taking a closer look at Kansas also. We take it to this afternoon, a little bit of shower activity. Then we get to this evening around dinner time, some storms possible from Dodge City over to Hutchinson. And then we start to get to later this evening, 10, 11, 12 o'clock, just some storms out and about out there. Some of these will hit severe limits, but overall, it doesn't look too crazy in the state of Kansas. Now, the north central U.S., definitely a lot of activity. We get into about early afternoon, thunderstorms becoming widespread across southern Wisconsin, Iowa, and even more widespread as we're getting into around 5, 6 o'clock in these regions. And flooding could be a bit of a concern with these. There's a lot of activity here. Some storms possible in southern lower Michigan also. Watch out Detroit, Kalamazoo, Lansing. And these storms will cluster up later this evening across areas of southern Wisconsin and northern areas of Illinois. Big time cluster of storms surging through areas of Nebraska, western Nebraska. So beware of that. And I will zoom into that region here in a second. And then by the time we get to the overnight hours, just expect some rainy times across eastern areas of South Dakota, Nebraska, southern areas of the southern half of Iowa, and just a big surge of moisture that we're waking up to tomorrow morning across areas of Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, etc. So a closer look at Wyoming, because I did not include you guys in that frame. To the 2 p.m., we can get some tornadoes in eastern Wyoming today. So close to Torrington, you see this big circle coming off the cell. That could be a supercell around mid-afternoon today. So be aware of these. Some big hail producers with this too. But it could. There's a 2% risk of a tornado. Do not be surprised around this area. Storm chasers, I'm sure, will be up in this region. Lower populated area, but you never know. Kind of like what we saw in South Dakota a few days ago when we had 2 people that were killed. You never know if it's just going to hit somebody's house. So be aware of this for my friends and family out here in eastern Colorado. But these storms will dance around. Could get a bigger one around 5 p.m. that maybe blows up here north of Casper. Kind of moves into the Gillette area. It could split. Could have some wild storms in eastern Wyoming today. And then we get into this evening and still some storms. Still firing off around Gillette. So in Nebraska today, this morning, pretty quiet. We get into this afternoon. We get into about mid-afternoon. We get to about dinner time. Scottsbluff, just the entire western areas of Nebraska could get a kind of developing cluster of storms that could get going. Tornado threat will be there. Very large hail threat will be there. Gusty winds. And then just could get a wave of storms that kind of blast through the entire western areas of Nebraska through the evening. This is 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Still intense thunderstorms ongoing. This is beginning to move into the central areas of the state at this point. We take it to about midnight. Intense thunderstorms possible, but it looks like it kind of breaks up for the southern areas of the state and then the northern half of Nebraska getting a cluster of storms, and then everything sort of just merges together and we just got clusters of storms and downpours all across eastern areas of Nebraska into 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then things begin to calm down. But moving into South Dakota, starting off around midday, we get into the afternoon hours, and then we start to get to about 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Storms are possible really anywhere for the central and western areas of South Dakota. More intense cluster of storms could get going in the southern areas of South Dakota, and just watch out for some heavy rain in the eastern sections of South Dakota. So rainfall between now and the next 36 hours. It really likes the idea of southeast South Dakota getting a few inches of rain. Southern areas of Minnesota, same thing. This is really getting into tomorrow morning in Minnesota. Same thing with Iowa. But could get a good bit of rain here in northeast areas of Colorado also. In fact, I'll just take a closer look here at these regions. Northeast sections of Colorado, over an inch of rain possible. Could get a lot of rain here. And this is really probably getting going later tonight, but there is an area to watch out for right here where Missouri, Kansas, and Nebraska come together for a few inches of rain. So, once you get down here to Colorado, more splotchy in nature, and of course we've already talked about New Mexico. So, moving into the western U.S., we've already broke down Wyoming, New Mexico, and Colorado, but you guys could get some rain also in eastern areas of Arizona this afternoon. You see some rain showing up here, the green. Some thunderstorms are possible for you folks. So if you live in eastern areas of Arizona, probably going to get some rain shower, maybe even a storm. The rest of the western U.S. looks pretty quiet. So. Now, speaking on temperatures, spend some time on this. Listen, very hot conditions. Please take the heat safety serious, guys. I mean, I used to be somebody that I never drank water. I still don't like drinking water. I kind of have to force myself to drink it. I'm kind of one of those weird people that likes room temperature water over ice cold water. I feel like I can chug it better, but it's not always good to chug the water, when you need water. But anyways, just take the heat serious, especially if folks, working outside. Just make sure you stop and drink plenty of water, even if you don't feel thirsty. A lot of times you're not going to feel thirsty, but a heat stroke, it can come up on you fast. So just take it serious. Stop and take breaks. Hopefully your boss, or if you're a boss, hopefully you guys are definitely stopping every so often and taking a break. Just take the heat serious. I know that so we got some tough individuals out there that just want to keep on going, but this heat has a way of sneaking up on you fast. So definitely drink water. Drink plenty of water, guys. Take plenty of breaks. And if you're anything like me, I worked warehouse jobs, hot warehouse jobs through my 20s. And, for me, it was hard to take a break because I felt like when I took a break, it took me forever to get back going again. So a lot of times I would work through lunch break just to kind of get through the day. But, definitely don't do that. Take breaks and just take this heat serious. But anyways, a hot day, especially when you get into Georgia and northern areas of Florida, South Carolina, actual high temperatures, your actual temperatures outside will be in the upper 90s to low 100s. Your heat indices, your heat index, the feel like temperature will be well over 100 degrees before even lunchtime. It'll be 110, 115 degrees. And then we head on up to areas of the mid-Atlantic, and the actual air, I think it hit 104 yesterday in Baltimore, or either it was D.C., but Virginia, once you get out the mountains, guys, I think even Roanoke is going for 100 degrees today. So, extremely hot temperatures across this area, going for the low 100s across southern New England. Just Long Island going to hit 100 degrees for a high temperature. Heat indices will be closer to 108, 110. You look into the areas of the Northeast, it's still very hot. And then the last area I'll kind of zoom into is these regions here. It lessens up a little bit, but still hot. I'm going to say something, and man, it caused a big old hoot on social media yesterday. And a lot of people are not going to agree with me, and a lot of people will. But I challenge you guys that, if you want a lower power bill, if you don't want to just run your AC unit to death, don't set your thermostat at below 70 degrees unless you just got a house that is incredibly well insulated. I'm telling you, there's when it gets this hot, there's not really a big difference. Your system is going to run and run and run, but if you at least set your thermostat at, say, 72, 73 or higher, at least it'll have a chance to cycle off. Your unit could take a break. You're going to have a lower power bill. But it trips me out here in the South how people have their thermostat set at really sub 70 degrees. I tell you, at our house, we have our thermostat, when it's this hot, I normally bump it up to about 75, 76, about 76. And then at night, I bump it back down to 74. And, it's not freezing in the house, but it is plenty cold. It just... when you have it set at like 68, guys, that thing is going to run for 20, 24 hours straight. It might just not even turn off for a week straight if it's a long duration heat wave. So I know that this is probably not going to resonate well with people because a lot of people are like, well, it's my house, my money. But I don't understand how people are just fine with paying a $300, $400, $500 power bill for 3 months out the summer. But, anyways, I'm done with that. Just see how it feels if you bump it up to 72, 73 degrees. I tell you, the unit's still going to run like crazy. And it's probably going to stay plenty cold in your house. Your unit's not going to be able to cool your house down to 68 degrees unless you got a smaller, extremely well insulated house. And let's be real, most of us do not have an extremely well insulated house. We probably have older windows. Some people don't even have insulation in their house. So just keep that in mind, just trying to help you guys be a little bit energy efficient. Some people don't want to hear that crap at all, but just trying to help you out. But anyways, enough of all that rigmarole. The central to western U.S., even in Texas, it's not that bad. 80s and 90s, typical run-of-the-mill late June type temperatures. But it is definitely just more average to maybe even some areas slightly below average temperature-wise across the west. Now, getting into tomorrow, the ridge is kind of shrinking, still in place, but energy is able to sort of wrap around this ridge. And so we're going to have widespread thunderstorms that's probably going to develop across the southeast tomorrow. We even have a slight risk now, level 2 out of 5. Instability will build fast across the Carolinas for tomorrow afternoon and just the southeast. You got another slight risk in southern Alabama, southwest Georgia, and the panhandle of Florida, very small section of Mississippi. So it'll get very hot. It'll be very humid. The temperatures will rise dramatically, even faster tomorrow than today. And then there will be some energy, some upper energy in the atmosphere, kind of a surface trough, a piece of energy riding inside this ridge, and this will spark widespread strong to severe thunderstorms. So it'll get very hot again tomorrow, but we will get rain tomorrow across a lot of areas in the southeast. Then we have a marginal risk that kind of does some weird stuff all the way up here, and that is because the center of high pressure is probably going to be somewhere into here, so flow will be kind of wrapping down into here, and I don't have my little pin up so I can't draw on it, but I don't think we need all of that. But this area right here, if you live in, say, Charlotte, Raleigh, Winston-Salem, Greensboro, Columbia, Greenville, slight risk, level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather. Asheville, and then down here also. Okay, so what's driving this? Let's zoom back out. Tornado threat, it's below 2%. The wind threat, though, is at a 15% risk. Got a 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour with some of these storms in the yellow area. And there will be a little bit of a hail threat, 5% risk of that. So move it back to this, and then the excessive rainfall outlook tomorrow. Most of the energy, the heavy energy as far as widespread heavy rain, is still rounding this portion of the ridge up here. Jet more so is up here. Energy embedded into the ridge, but these yellow areas where you have a 15% risk of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles in a given location. Then we'll bump it back to the day 3 outlook and just 2 areas to watch for. Once again, for the mid-Atlantic and areas of the south, marginal risk. So there is going to be a risk of severe weather for Thursday in these areas and up here across the Midwest into the Central Plains. And then we'll look at the excessive rainfall outlook for these areas. And we just got to watch out for our friends up here in the upper Midwest, Great Lakes region. There will be a 15% risk of flash flooding occurring in these areas into here. So I will mention also there is already a, let's see if I can find it. For day 4, there's already a slight risk up for the Dakotas down to Nebraska. So kind of rinse and repeat type pattern. We're, getting into summer now, so your severe weather threats are really more so positioned up to the north, outside of a couple events, kind of like what we'll get tomorrow across areas of the southeast. But we'll talk more on that as we work our way closer. Just speaking a little bit more about this severe weather threat across areas of the upper southeast and the southeast for tomorrow. Let's start off tomorrow around midday. Quiet, not a whole lot going on, but watch as we start to get into about 4 p.m. Widespread thunderstorm activity. Now I'm telling you, these storms are going to pack a punch tomorrow. But originally, when they start off, they could get going anywhere. Asheville to Hickory, Roanoke up to Charlottesville, Charlotte, Raleigh. But then they could cluster up. So this is 6 p.m. We're just kind of getting more clusters of storms. It looks very active down here in northern South Carolina, which I'll zoom into more here in a second. But this is 6 p.m. This is 7, 8, 9, 10. Just storms everywhere. Could have erratic motion to them. So they're riding around the central portion of this ridge, but these things could be driven more so off outflow boundaries that they pop off, rain cooled air, but the general motion looks southerly, so it looks like it's going to be coming from the north to the south. So this flow will come out of North Carolina. This is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So widespread thunderstorm activity through the afternoon and evening. And then we take a closer look at Georgia and South Carolina. We get to early afternoon, some strong to severe storms could begin to pop up here, but more widespread activity gets going here in northern South Carolina, PD of South Carolina, pop-up activity in Georgia, and just clusters of storms kind of rounding through South Carolina. We got pop-up activity in Georgia, and we could just have what I'm watching for is an organized cluster of storms that kind of originates in North Carolina tomorrow afternoon, sags down to South Carolina tomorrow afternoon, evening, and then eventually pivots all the way through Augusta and gets all the way into eastern areas of Georgia. The directional flow will be a little different. Normally we don't get storms that sort of wrapping from the northeast and move southwest like these storms could potentially do for tomorrow, but it looks like that they could potentially do this just due to the flow. But by the time we get to midnight, could have widespread thunderstorm activity in Georgia. And then I really think we could just have a long-lived, what we call mesoscale convective system that starts somewhere off the mountains and then pivots through South Carolina, through Georgia, and could eventually get all the way to the Gulf coastline. I could see it happening. And then, we'll look at Florida, just pop-up thunderstorms that could hit strong to severe limits pretty fast in the bend of Florida, the panhandle of Florida, and could get some big storms also around Tampa to down to Sarasota, Fort Myers. Very stormy evening across the panhandle of Florida tomorrow. And look, more organized line area of storms kind of surging through the Gulf coastline down here also. So just be aware of this. And the temperatures will get hot fast tomorrow. I think they'll probably get hotter faster tomorrow compared to today. It's just we're going to have an opportunity to cool those temperatures off quicker because of all this storm activity. But upper 90s for highs, even low 100s, and the heat index I think could be pretty brutal tomorrow. Let's see. That stinks. It doesn't have it. Let's see if we can do this. Let's make our way into Wednesday. Yeah, I think the heat index could spike really high, by lunchtime tomorrow. So this will definitely just fuel the atmosphere. So that's all I got as far as the weather, guys. Let's go on and make a timestamp, and let's use the hazards map. So going to do a quick devotion. Not going to stay long this morning. I'll be honest, I wasn't able to get up this morning. It's been hard to adjust back to getting back to bed kind of early. I stayed up a little bit later on vacation, but this morning we're in Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17. It says, "Iron sharpens iron, and one person sharpens another." So I really think that this is about looking out for your fellow family member, a friend, a coworker. It could be anybody. Just holding that person accountable and allowing somebody else to hold you accountable. I think that a lot of people out there do not handle constructive criticism better. And a lot of people like to tell people things that they want to hear to avoid conflict. I'm lucky to have, I don't think I have one person in my life that just tells me what I want to hear. My wife doesn't. She holds me accountable when I kind of get in my feelings and I'm, feeling anxiety about something that I have no business feeling anxiety about. I have people at my workplace that when I start getting impatient with customers sometimes, they'll say, "Hey man, tighten up, it's your job. Don't, and they allow me to do it to them too. You work customer service, this is your job. And for the church place, I don't have any great examples right at the top of my head, but I know that there's definitely people at my church that would hold me accountable, and we hold each other accountable. But, it is a fine line to walk. I totally get that. But especially if you're, your fellow Christian brother or sister, you see them acting out and doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing. There's definitely, as believers, we're supposed to say something, but there is ways that you can say things. And then some people, at the end of the day, some people just don't know how to talk to people. I mean, and trust me, I get it. And sometimes when you're like, for example, it took me a long time to get used to this, reading comments, and it's hard to figure out the intentions of how somebody is saying something through comments, and maybe they don't mean it that way. But not everybody has great social awareness, and I find that out more and more in life as I get older and older. Some people just don't know how to say the right things in certain situations. I really think there should be some sort of how to talk to somebody, how to have a conversation 101 in high school or something. It should be a requirement, because at the end of the day, you want to look out for somebody, help them better, but you want to say it in a way where, hey, you mean what you say, but you don't have to be, a totally rude person about it. So, and in the same sense, just like I said, you got to be willing to accept that constructive criticism. Now, some people, like I said, don't know how to do it well. They don't know how to say stuff to people well. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, lift others up, help them to get better, and consistently raise that bar of standard. And the only way we can do that, raise the, what's the best way I can say this, raise whatever the average standard of a person is. Let's try to raise that. And the only way we can do that is by challenging one another to be the best that we can be. We live in a world that praises weaknesses, praises the weaknesses. That's the country we live in a sense, in certain areas. So, we're called to be strong. So, just a little rambling session there. God bless all y'all. It's supposed to be a shorter devotion, but it turned out into about your average one. But anyways, hold each other accountable and allow somebody to hold you accountable. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning.